Hello friends, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sana, mrs.perfectly.imperfect.keto, where being perfect is overrated and being imperfect is appreciated. Today is Monday, it is March 27th. We are almost at the near end of March. If I did not tell you all already, happy spring. So there is a lot going on in the South, in Florida, when it comes to spring, especially when it comes to the pollen. So I am still rocking the little bit of a tip of a red nose from just the pollen irritation. So I wanted to kind of get into my weekend meals. If you had noticed, I did decide to not do any recording and simply just take photos this weekend. We did have a very hectic weekend, so I simply just went in with taking some pictures that I'm just going to include on this Monday's clip. So for Saturday, I did have TWOMAD, so I did go in with 2 meals for Saturday. So Saturday was March 25th. I did have some leftover chicken wings. Simply what I did was I just reheated them in the air fryer. It does not take very long. So basically what I do is I just put them on a wire rack in my air fryer. I do 400 degrees and it takes about 5 minutes. I don't flip them at all. So putting them on that wired rack, it allows for the air frying in the unit to really air fry the top as well as the bottom, so it does not require any flipping for me and for my preference. And I did on the side, I had some of that clean hot sauce, that Crystal brand that I had gotten from Sam's Club that I showed you all in a previous video, with some melted butter to be able to dip the chicken wings in that. So I really enjoyed having it that way because it almost makes it like having a clean version of buffalo chicken. So that is what I had for my first TWOMAD meal. And then my second meal, I simply just had some Philly meat. So the Philly meat is just simply just the thin shredded beef that is normally used for Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. So we had visited a butcher shop on Saturday morning and they did have some of the Philly shaved meat, so I did buy about 4 pounds of it. So that's what I decided to go in with on Saturday's dinner. Simply what I did was I just took some aluminum foil and made a bowl shape out of it. I put the Philly meat in that tin foil, seasoned it with some salt, and allowed it to air fry. I do like the texture of my meat to have a little bit of a crispy bit. So that is why I prefer going in with doing it that way as far as air frying it. You can certainly do the traditional method of doing your Philly cheesesteak meat on a flat top like a Blackstone, or you can simply do it on your stovetop as well. So if you prefer those methods, definitely you do you. Once the meat was cooked, I did crack 2 eggs over the top and I did air fry it. That way I was able to just get some really simple over easy eggs without having to make a mess of a frying pan. So that is what I went in for my dinner. So for Sunday, also at the butcher shop, we did see a really nice piece of prime rib roast, and it was definitely a splurge because it was $14.99 a pound. Coming up this Friday, I'm going to be celebrating 90 days of this carnivore way of eating. So I did want to go in with something special and to kind of commit some time to preparing a really nice dinner for Sunday. So Sunday, March 26th was 1 meal a day. I was really excited to just having all of my hunger saved up for that dinner. So I went in with preparing a prime rib roast. So I did capture some pictures, so I'm going to go ahead and include it as I'm just discussing the process with you all. So the size of this prime rib roast was 7.24 pounds. So I definitely have some for tonight's leftovers. I simply just salted it very, very thoroughly. So I made sure it was thoroughly salted on all sides. I did put it on a wire rack in my Ninja Foodie. What I like to do, and I know it sounds very unusual, but I use the dehydrate setting on my Ninja Foodie. I go in at 150 degrees Fahrenheit and I dehydrate it for 4 hours. Once I dehydrate it for 4 hours, at that point in time, I simply put my meat probe in the internal part of the prime rib roast, and I set the air fry setting, the air crisp setting for 380 degrees Fahrenheit, and I just allow the air fryer to just sound off once it reaches the internal temperature of 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And at that point in time, I simply just take out the prime rib roast, I wrap it in some parchment paper and some foil wrap, and I allow it to rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I did show how it looks once I cut through the center of the prime rib roast. So it was a perfect combination of a medium rare to a medium temperature. The internal, I could not be any more happy with the results. So it came out amazing. I simply just had it and had some scrambled eggs on the side, along with all the meat juices that was in my Ninja Foodie pot, along with some butter. And the meal was just amazing. So I am so excited to have more of it for my one meal a day for tonight because the taste was just phenomenal. And I know some might think that it's an expensive cost as far as the prime rib roast. Usually during the holiday season, there's a lot of sales, but I don't splurge my money on anything frivolous. So when it came to having something of an indulgence, especially being on this way of eating for 90 days, I felt it was amazing that I was able to celebrate, but to celebrate with something with this way of eating. I'm not celebrating with a cake. I'm not celebrating with a cupcake. I am celebrating with something that is completely still on plan. So I wanted to be able to go ahead and include the meals that I had this weekend. And as I said, I'll definitely include the pictures. That way you all can see the meals as well as the process that I went through with the prime rib roast. So I'm going to go ahead and update you all once I have my one meal a day plated up for today. All right, friends. So what I did for my one meal a day dinner for tonight is in this deep pan here. I simply just used it for the leftovers that I had of the prime rib roast. I did add about 8 ounces of water. That way it would not simply just go in the oven completely dry. It definitely helps to add that liquid. I just simply put the lid on it. And I had set the oven for 250 degrees Fahrenheit because all we're simply wanting to do is give this leftover prime rib roast a nice good warm through. We're not wanting it to cook very much because we're still wanting to make sure that the meat doesn't cook too well done because it is prime rib roast. You definitely want to have your prime rib roast as close to medium internal temperature as you can have. It just is a much better quality and texture of meat that way. So let me go ahead and show you all. So this is my one meal a day. So I'm going in a little bit early today. It is around 4 o'clock. I did go for 1 mile on my treadmill. I am very fortunate to have had a treadmill for the past 2 years now that is GPS enabled, so I can map out an area in my neighborhood. So this week I'm concentrating on doing 1 mile on the treadmill at a very good pace. So I simply just went in at 1 mile, and I'm going to go ahead and increase next week. So every single day I actually do walking in place. on a yoga mat, and I do get over 10,000 steps in every single day. That is something that I had started from the beginning of January. But as far as the treadmill definitely is a very different pace as when it comes to walking. So I'm definitely getting acclimated to that. So that might be why I'm ready to kind of go in a little bit early with a meal. But I do have a substantial piece of this prime rib roast. I do have some pats of butter to have on the side. And I simply just did 3 over easy eggs. That way I can simply just have that as a nice dipping sauce. So this is what I'm going to go in for this Monday. I want to thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you all. Take care, friends.